Tonight on The Big Picture Live, we're going to cover some things that's going to blow your mind. You're hearing about a few of them on the media, but most of them you are not hearing about. Some of the things we're going to talk about tonight is Russia. I mean, we're not just talking about Russia and Ukraine. Is Putin really fleeing? Is he in hiding like they say, or is that just a PSYOP? We're going to talk about the submarine, the submersible. Unfortunately, sadly, ended the way it did. But was there more to the story than what we were being told? We're going to talk about the push for the CBDC is on breakneck speed. Thank you, Josh Bartlett, by the way. We're going to talk about a global tax that is being implemented right now, being pushed by the World Economic Forum to fight climate change. And we have to address the final week of Pride and the things that they're doing in the streets of America in front of our children. And we will close tonight with our supernatural paranormal update. Robots, dog robots that are shooting flames and much more. You never know what you're going to get on The Big Picture. And all of it is coming your way right after this. Woo! All right, let's get into the news.
Yes, why wait?
We like to start with breaking news, and then we'll cover some of the fringe things that other people aren't talking about that are sort of the bigger picture of the world that we're living in. But we want to talk about some things that are breaking right now. Over this past weekend, in the last few days, the two big stories in the headlines, the first one was the story that there was a potential coup that was happening in Moscow. Now, you and I were skeptical of this from the very beginning.
Oh, my goodness.
Because we're naturally skeptical of anything nowadays. But
this sounded super ridiculous.
Yeah, it really did.
It
really
did not sound like a straightforward story, and I think there's still a lot of questions.
So they called it mutiny. They called it, all kinds of things that, from a coup to all this stuff. And, of course, we had never heard of the Wagner Group. I thought it was, I thought it was Wagner. Because down here in Alabama, we like the Wagner Group. What's a Wagner Group doing?
I still hear people pronouncing it Wagner.
I do too. But I heard a general that was on Redacted today said Wagner. And I said, when the general from the United States military called it Wagner,
we're going to go with that one.
I'm going with Wagner. But it's spelled Wagner. And when down here in Alabama, we like, what's a Wagner doing in Russia? How's a Wagner got power with Putin? All right, I diverse. Okay, so diverse. I digress. Putin speaks publicly for the first time since the Wagner mutiny ended. Russian President Vladimir Putin pledged in a televised address that the leaders of the Wagner rebellion would be brought to justice. In Putin's first public comment since the mutiny by the mercenary group ended in uncertain truce on June 24th. Putin's remarks on June 26th, which is today, were his first since a fiery speech several days ago while the apparent rebellion was still playing out and in which the Russian leader called the Wagner chief's actions a stab in the back and pledged to crush what he described as a rebellion. Now, Yevgeny Prigozhin, the Wagner leader, on June 24th, ordered his fast-advancing troops to stand down and return to base as part of a reported deal in which the Kremlin charges against him would be dropped, and he agreed to go into exile in neighboring Belarus. So when you hear this part, and we'll comment more, we've got a couple more articles. What's your first initial response when you hear that, everybody was saying, Putin's going down.
Putin's on the run.
Putin's on the run.
Oh, my goodness.
And in 24 hours, it was over.
It was over. This is just... I don't know. I'm surprised that we can't do better in the news cycles these days.
Oh, I'm not surprised. You're not surprised either. That's you being nice. You're not surprised.
It's ridiculous. Could you not come up with a better story than this?
Yeah. Well, look. Now we have delved into this story, and we found out that this group, this Wagner Group, is sort of like a group of mercenaries that's really made up of convicts. These are this guy, and when we studied, how you say his name again? I'm going down here again.
Yevgeny?
Yeah, Yevgeny Prigozhin. This is wild here. We studied his history, and he was in prison. He got out of prison, and then he started a bakery.
Yeah.
Now listen to this. He started a bakery in Russia. This is the truth.
This is rich, really rich.
This is amazing. He started a bakery. He had a little, almost like and he sold hot dogs. He had a hot dog stand, and he sold pastries. And that was his front. It's almost like the mob, the mafia.
Okay, yes. But
wait a minute,
supposedly go into catering?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Catering.
That's right.
Catering events.
He went into
but still.
Yeah, he went into catering.
So he could launder the money.
Catering business. And then lo and behold, somehow he runs into this young whippersnapper that's on the rise in the Russian political world named Vladimir Putin.
Because all spies buy their lunch on the corner.
Exactly.
The corner hot dog stand.
This is the story. This is actually the story that if you read and study on him, this is how it happened. So they met. I don't know if he bought a hot dog from him or what, but they met. They created this relationship. And so when he began to rise to power, Putin, he began to funnel money through this bakery.
Right.
And this bakery then was funding mercenaries, and he began to basically start a Russian mob. And he was the front, began to be the front, and he, of course, created the Wagner Group. And it is rumored that literally at least tens of billions of dollars over the years have been funneled through this bakery. And of course, he's not running the bakery. He's running a group of world military leaders. And they're active in Africa. They're active in South America. They're active, of course, in the war with Ukraine and different places around the world. These guys, these are highly trained, very brutal people that are on the ground fighting in Ukraine. This is what the generals that on some of the stations I've been watching, retired generals are saying, is that they got tired of this piecemeal thing going on in Ukraine because they know that Putin does not want to go to war with NATO, so he's never unleashed the full power of Russia against Ukraine. We all know that. We all know that he has nuclear weapons, all this kind of stuff. So this Prigozhin came forward with his people and marched on Moscow. This is the narrative, to send a message to Putin. Our guys are done. Our guys are tired of doing these little battles. We need to get rid of some of your Russian generals so that we can finish Zelensky and finish this war. And that's supposedly what this is all about. And they came to some kind of truce 24 hours later, where normally, think about in Russia, if you came up against Putin, you're going to be lined up against a wall and shot.
Yeah.
But every one of them were pardoned.
But instead of slugging it out, they decided to hug it out.
That's a good way of putting it. And you don't hug out nothing in Russia.
No, this is potentially something very serious. You just cannot trust what you hear. I mean, I would love for someone to tell me the absolute truth, wouldn't you? Just to know the absolute truth.
Well, watching, you can go back and watch an episode of Redacted with Clayton Morris interviewing that general, and he said this is what you need to look for now coming out of this is a heightened, more really determined attack from Russia to finish this, because he feels like that was a part of the agreement. We will stand down. We will turn around and go back. But you're going to have to end this thing, because they're saying one of the things that Zelensky is threatening with is that he is supposedly, whether true or not, saying that he has control of a part of the nuclear power plant in one of these areas, and that he's going to release radiation poison and then blame it on Russia to turn NATO against Russia. So this particular group, the Wagner Group, said we need to seize this now before this narrative gets turned on us. So that's one of the reasons. And here's the other reason, Sandy, to help us understand what is expediting this. NATO has announced this week a plan to fast-track Ukraine membership, raising prospects for war. Can I tell you something? That is the one thing that Vladimir Putin has said all along. We can – and one of the things that general said as well, the retired general, is saying that Putin does not want to destroy Ukraine. He wants to live with Ukrainian people that are left. He just wants the land back, the mass back. He doesn't want to decimate everything. But he has said the one thing that will not happen is Ukraine will not join NATO.
Oh, certainly. That was made known before this war even started over a year ago, right?
Right. Ukrainian membership in NATO violates repeated Western assurances dating back to 1990 that the alliance would never expand to Russia's border. And here's Zelensky. I could make a whole show on this dude right here. This guy is, I mean,
he's a piece of work, isn't he?
He's a piece of work. He's a former comedian, actor, and some of the videos that are out there when he was an actor, him and other men and all this is just really weird stuff. A top Western official is publicly stating that the plans to fast-track NATO membership for Ukraine are now on the table. James Cleverly, UK Foreign Secretary, says that all NATO allies support a plan to speed up Ukraine's NATO membership, according to a report from The Guardian. Now, let me just say, it says here, President Joe Biden said the U.S. does not support a fast-track process for Ukraine to join NATO. Quote, we have seen Ukraine evolve and evolve quickly. And NATO foreign minister said many of the requirements of the membership action plan are actually being delivered. The reform of the armed forces is happening while engaged in conflict. And I think the UK's position is that would be a very, very supportive if we moved on from membership action plan, that the offer to both Sweden and Finland did not require that. Go ahead.
No, I'm just absorbing.
Okay. So here's the thing. If that happens, and here's, and look, we hate to be the ones that are always saying everything is plotted and planned, but everything is plotted and planned.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So the reason for a fast track, okay, you're not going to want to hear this, but this is the truth. The reason for a fast track to NATO, and the reason NATO wants a fast track, is they know that that is going to actually create a war.
Expedite things.
Expedite the war. So your thoughts?
Well, we are... a year and 4 months now,
Yep.
or right at that bar of when this war started, and it can't drag on forever. This had to step up at some point for whatever reason, and looks like right now might be the time.
Yeah, and I think it is the time, and I think that we've been so sanitized to modern war.
Yeah.
That we just have gone on, we've moved on, like we're going to move on just like that from this story into multiple other stories. And our attention spans are about the size of a gnat now. So, we just have forgotten, really. A lot of people have just literally forgotten, put it in the back of their mind that there is an actual war going on between two nations. And then in the middle of that war is the potential of drawing us into that war because of an expedited membership.
And that there are real atrocities going on the ground.
Yes.
Many people have fled their homeland to go to Poland, to go to other places. People have died. Many people have died. And here we are in America. We don't really fully understand that.
No, we don't. And look at this. Adrian Norman tweeted, said the UK Foreign Secretary just said all NATO allies are backing a plan to fast-track Ukraine's NATO membership. Former Zelensky advisor stated during a 2019 interview, meaning if this ever happened, with a 99.9% probability, the price for our entry into NATO is a major war with Russia. And this was in 2019.
And everybody knows that, but
2019.
Just to see that in print, that's pretty powerful.
It's pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. And that's where we're going. And let's not forget, even though we're not covering it in detail tonight, right on the other side of Asia, in that entire area where Russia is a little island nation called Taiwan and a gigantic nation called China that has already encircled that island and pretty much is following the lead of Russia, saying, well, if Russia can claim another nation as rightfully theirs, we're going to do the same thing. And they've said to NATO, anyone that helps Taiwan is an enemy and has declared war against China. This is what you call a world war. And in World War III has just become this thing that we just throw out there as just this sort of just thing that we say. But we are really literally on the verge of a world war environment.
And it's probably because we're so far displaced from World War II. Not that there was Pearl Harbor, but Hawaii's so far away from mainland America.
Yeah.
How can we possibly fully understand in this country what war is, what it really means?
Yeah. And then, of course, we had the Vietnam War. We suffered many, many losses. The Korean War. Then the War on Terror that has never ended, suffered many losses. But beginning with the war on terror in this generation, we begin to fight wars where it was basically in the air and now with drones. And, so we don't think of men on the ground, women on the ground. We don't think of hand-to-hand combat. But real war is that. And real war is death. And real war is destruction. And that's what we're on the verge of. This is not a video game. This is not a simulation. No. These are actual human beings that are about to be put into war. Yes. And our nation, we've never ended the war on terror. Okay, it's never ended. There was never even a war declared for the war on terror. But that's still going on. We're spread out all over. Then we're decimating our military, and we're, quite frankly, if I can just say it this way, the culture of this world has affected the fighting power of the men. We've changed what a soldier is and turned him into some kind of social media warrior. And here we are, and we're about to fight the two most powerful nations other than the United States is Russia and China, and both of them has threatened us.
Very serious. I mean, just think back 5 years ago, how very different our life and our world is in just 5 short years. You could even say probably 3 years, but it is very serious and very dire. And thank you for that super sticker and super chat. Thank you for everybody commenting tonight.
Yes. And if you haven't hit that like button, hit that like button now. And then there ain't nothing in the world helps us better than that. If you're watching and the show's blessing you at all on Rumble or on YouTube, smash the like button and let us know that you appreciate what we're doing. Well, the other news item of this week was this is a strange news item. It's just strange, strange that it just took over the news, and that is, of course, everybody's fascinated with the story of the Titanic, and of course the movie really brought it back to another generation. And it was a great movie, and it was the special effects and all that was just incredible. And then to know that it was made, and after all these years that people said we'll never find the Titanic, we actually found the Titanic and showed actual clips of it. And then, James Cameron, the director of Titanic, went down there, began to be an expert on submarines. Go figure that. And because of the Titanic. So, just like everything else, people move on with their life. It's a part of our history. We watch the movie every once in a while, come back around. But now everybody's talking about Titanic again because of the Ocean Gate Titan submersible. Right. That was these billionaires were on this basically glorified tube. That's what it looked like. And I don't know if you know this, but it said that people. One of the narratives was, maybe they got out. Well, they couldn't get out because they were bolted in. I don't know if you realize that when they went in, there was hammer drills that
get out to do what? You're over to
they were thinking maybe when the first narratives came out, did they get out before they ran out of oxygen? Well, they couldn't get out. They were bolted in. So, Sandy, we were told, and the world was told for days. We started, we started counting down 96 hours worth of oxygen, 48 hours worth of oxygen, 24 hours worth of oxygen. And then, of course, it came on the news that everybody's heart was broken because we realized, everybody's trying to have hope. Somehow they're sitting down there waiting. Somebody's going to find them and get them. And then, you started seeing the reports, well, they're probably not going to make it because they just ran out of air. All of the 96 hours has come and gone. And then we find out that when it's all said and done, the United States Navy actually detected the Titan implosion on Sunday. Right. But Biden administration only released news on Thursday after. Now, look, we don't try to be political in here, but this is the facts. After the Hunter plea deal, Hunter is his son, and whistleblower reports were released. So the implosion of the Titan submersible submarine that went missing Sunday was known by the U.S. Navy days ago through the U.S. Coast Guard, although the U.S. Coast Guard only found debris on the wreckage of Thursday. Underwater microphones, the Wall Street Journal reports, which are used to detect enemy submarines, detected the implosion. It was revealed by the Coast Guard that the Titan suffered a catastrophic implosion. The Navy did not name the system that was used to detect the implosion. Quote, the U.S. Navy conducted an analysis of the acoustic data and detected an anomaly consistent with an implosion or explosion in the general vicinity of where the Titan submersible was operating when communications were lost. So basically, it goes on to say, from that time until Thursday when it was revealed, what was happening in the world. And we talk a lot about distractions, and we talk about a lot about the power of the people that are in charge. And the power of the people that are in charge is this. From the president's family is in the news. His son was being investigated. He had made a plea deal, and it came out, that he was just going to get a slap on the wrist. And after all that just sort of broke, and everybody's talking, they're asking the press secretary about Hunter and all of this, we find out that they didn't make it.
We're seeing in the chats, people are saying distraction. It was a diversion. Kept some of the heat off of Hunter. Okay, probably. But it was just cruel.
Yeah, it's very cruel.
Every day and every hour, more people were investing into this story. I'm sure many, many people were praying that some way, somehow, these people could be brought back home safely and that, everything would work out. But what can you say besides that was wrong, that was cruel?
Yeah.
To let everyone just go on thinking, well, maybe they'll be okay, and not releasing what they had heard and what probably had happened.
I'm talking about millions of people around the world were praying.
Yes.
Praying for their safe return. I mean, and our government knew they were gone. I read today that the U.S. Navy and the Coast Guard confirmed that halfway down, on their way down, it imploded. So within an hour, an hour and a half,
or a little over 2 hours to
something like
complete.
That, little over halfway down, because you know what? They just have weights. That's how they got there. They just were weighted down, and they said halfway down, they had released their weights because they realized that something happened, and they started trying to go up, and it was too late. So I'm talking about within hours of them going under the water, they were gone. And within hours, the U.S. Navy knew that. And for days, we were distracted. And what do we want to tell you on the big picture is that this ought to show you that you have to be skeptical of what you see on mainstream media, especially if everybody's toting the same narrative.
Exactly.
And how will we ever know the truth? I don't know how we will ever know the truth. We're just going to do the best we can on the big picture to help you find it.
Can we talk about the story that we were talking about, the father and son?
Yeah. You're talking about when he was at the concert and all this?
No.
What are you talking about?
I can't remember their last name. The father and son, they're from Pakistan. Remember I told you the father was developing a magnetic motor that was going to provide wireless electricity.
Listen to this.
Getting into some Tesla technologies now. Probably not exactly the same technology, but technology to provide wireless electricity to villages and communities that would have had to have lines brought in and so much money, so much time to do this. And just as with Tesla, certain people did not want that technology to become available to the public.
Very strange ties to Titanic. Like what you're saying on that, and then, of course, the story of that there were people that were on the Titanic that went down that were delving into Tesla technology for free energy.
Well, I think it's John Jacob Astor who was on the Titanic that was going to bankroll Tesla in his research and in his development when J.P. Morgan cut him off.
Right.
It's one thing to be brilliant, but you've got to have backing and funding to complete your work.
So he goes to J.P. Morgan and he says, I'm so excited about this invention.
Right.
J.P. Morgan is so excited about this invention. And he's like, we're going to be rich, basically. And he goes, no, you don't understand. I'm going to give this away, and it's going to give everybody free energy. And what did he say?
Forget that.
Forget that. He shut him down.
If we can't put a meter on it and charge for it, we don't want that. You're crazy. The stockholders never go for that. So supposedly, John Jacob Astor, I believe, who was on the Titanic, was going to help.
Think about this.
But guess what? He went down with the ship.
And let's not forget, too, that he was either the owner of one of the billionaires who was on there, and I think it might be the owner, is married to the great-granddaughter of the famous couple on the Titanic that went down with the ship, was portrayed in the movie, and they were the ones that made sure all the women and children were only the ones that were on the boat. And he tried to get his wife on there, and she said the narrative was, I'm not leaving you, I'm staying with you. And they both went down. Well, the great-granddaughter is either the owner of one of the billionaires' wife.
Were they either Guggenheim or Strauss?
I think it was Guggenheim, but I'm not sure on that. But they were very famous, and so the great-granddaughter's son and married his wife he's on the ship that went down.
And so this is a speculation.
It's crazy.
Speculation on our part, but there are actual connections here.
Yeah.
And one day we're going to do a show on this, and it all goes back. If anyone has read the book, Creature from Jekyll Island, I believe is the name of it.
Oh, yeah.
And the formation of the Federal Reserve. And these three men that went down on the Titanic, they did not want the Federal Reserve to become a reality.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's just, I know that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, let's really go down a crazy rabbit hole here.
Okay.
James Cameron, the one that made the movie Titanic, who is now holds the record. Is this crazy? This man holds the world's record of going the deepest in the ocean of any human in history. What's the name of that trench?
Marianas Trench.
Marianas Trench. He went down at the bottom of the Marianas Trench.
It's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
He did that years ago, right?
Years ago. So he owns and he develops, and now he's become the premier expert in submarines. Listen to what this is an article here from Revolver News. James Cameron comes clean. What he knew about the Titan implosion and when he knew it. And he says, something unusual is unfolding around the implosion of Titan, the submersible used for exploring the Titan shipwrecks. Reports are coming in the U.S. Navy. Well, we just covered that. But listen to what he says. How many people were aware of this Sunday explosion and chose not to disclose it, leaving the public to speculate, wonder, and even interpret recordings of knocking sounds? Remember, we were being told that.
Yes.
Several days later, reports of knocking sounds are being told.
So cruel.
It's just
so
sick.
Wrong.
It's sick. Was this some kind of cruel joke or strategic move by the government to keep this story trending, blah, blah, blah? Filmmaker and deep-sea explorer James Cameron said he figured soon after learning of Titanic-bound submersible was missing that it had imploded and its occupants were dead, days before the officials announced the very outcome. After hearing on Monday the Titan craft had disappeared, Cameron connected with people he knows in the deep-sea diving community and was told the submersible had lost communication and tracking simultaneously. He told CNN's Anderson Cooper on Thursday evening, quote, "The only scenario that I could come up with in my mind that could account for that was an implosion. Yeah. A shockwave event so powerful that it actually took out a secondary system that has its own pressure vessel and its own battery power supply, which is the transponder that the mothership uses to track where the sub is." So when he heard that they had lost communication and tracking simultaneously, he's not in the military, he's not in the U.S. Navy, but he knows enough to know the only thing that could knock both of them out, because they have redundant systems in case one goes out, was a massive explosion.
I saw part of that interview, and he seemed really genuine.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He was very heartbroken because here's the thing. He also came out and said he was very concerned about this company. He was very concerned about the materials that they were using.
While they were under construction or soon after, he advised them, this is not safe. Don't do this.
And this is what this company Ocean Gate was saying. They were testing it up here, and the carbon fibers, that the material, whatever it was that they were, is some kind of fiber material that they were using for the hull, was stronger than steel and stronger than anything that Cameron uses in his submarines up here. But what he was saying is, that's not the case. He kept trying to tell them, you're going to regret this because it's not the case underwater under that pressure.
That kind of pressure.
And so he
unbelievable.
knew. He knew all it would take was one small crack and it was gone. And this is what's horrifying, is he goes on to say the fact that, and I don't know how they knew this, but maybe they got a signal seconds before it happened, but that they had released their weights. Yeah. And to try to surface. And almost immediately after they released their weights, they lost everything. So this is what he said. He said, apparently, they must have sensed a crack. They must have seen it. They must have known. And they hit the release.
Tried to release all the weight to rise back to the top really fast.
Because of that much pressure. That's just,
even if they weren't on the bottom. I was watching a real quick video today about how it would have happened. He said it would have happened so quickly.
Yeah.
So quickly. They would not.
Well, they said in milliseconds.
Yes.
Milliseconds.
Yes.
They were literally disintegrated. And I hate to use that words on live because these are human beings that we're talking about.
Exactly.
But they were disintegrated in milliseconds. Unbelievable. But let me just tell you this. I'm not trying to take advantage of a horrible thing, but just a little teaching moment here.
Yes.
There were multiple billionaires on there. But I'm going to tell you something. You'll trade all of that to go back home to your family. And so I'm telling you, money may put you on an expedition, but you better know where you stand with God. All right. So
good word.
Let's move on to the next thing here.
We're back to trains again.
How in the world?
It's been a few months. I guess we needed to revisit.
How do trains and bridges keep crashing and trains keep crashing into rivers? And of all rivers, my beloved Yellowstone that I love so much. We've been there as a family. I've been there twice, actually. Yellowstone, if you ever got a chance to go to Yellowstone, let me tell you, put it on the bucket list, y'all. It is unbelievable. You can't fathom how beautiful Yellowstone is. So there's trains that go through the Yellowstone that converses all over our nation. And just this week, Montana train carrying gas and toxic chemicals crashes into the Yellowstone River. Things like molten sulfur, hot asphalt, petroleum, sodium hydrosulfate were being carried and dumped into the water. Residents are being urged to conserve their water usage and avoid the river's waters after a bridge collapsed and sent a train carrying petroleum and other toxins into the water. The Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office reported that a bridge over the Yellowstone River collapsed, which caused the train this morning to disrail. So they do not know the cause of the bridge collapse. Well, of course, they do not know the cause of the bridge collapse. And, my mind just goes back to, okay, all right, how many trains have gone over that bridge since it's been in existence, and it just happens to collapse when all these other trains are derailing around the country? Do you not just immediately ask, okay, come on, what is going on here?
Exactly. We hope that this is going to be a standalone incident and we don't start seeing more of these like we did several months ago.
Here's the picture of it. I mean, so if they're telling them to preserve water and stay out of the water, then of course that's going to affect the wildlife that's in the water, the wildlife that drinks from the water. Things like this have a snowball effect. And you're talking about Yellowstone is an extremely sensitive ecosystem there. And so, this is just tragic. I mean, who knows when this bridge will be rebuilt? Who knows when the transport? Let's not forget, we're thinking about the environment, but then let's also think about the economy.
Exactly.
I mean, no trains can go through that area anymore now.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know how much traffic that area sees.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just interesting how people name things too, because when I looked at this, it just jumped at me. Molten sulfur is a pale yellow crystalline solid with a faint odor of rotten eggs, according to National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And you think about the name of the submersible, Ocean Gate. I mean, there's just so many things. And I think about Ocean Gate, and we talk about gates and portals. And I mean, there's just my mind goes, what are they trying to tell us? We're talking about UFOs. There it is. Go watch it. Go find out the truth about UFOs and aliens. But a lot of people. I
hate to add more controversy to the Ocean Gate. Was Elon Musk actually somehow connected to that company?
I have no idea.
If anybody knows anything about that, if they heard the name Elon Musk tied in with Ocean Gate.
He apparently was tied into everything that's out there now. I mean, it's like
he's into everything.
I mean, it's like everything that comes on the news, we find out in its early stages, Elon Musk was an investor, but he got out. So it's like, okay, who knows? But, I think
if you know something, let us know.
Think about all the way back to the show Lost.
Yes.
Oceanic Airways.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many things about these portals and these things in the
Exactly.
water. And lo and behold, one of the whistleblowers of talking about UFOs, I don't know if you've heard this, came out this week and said that many of the so-called aliens, whatever you want to say that they are living underwater in the oceans. They are verifying it now. What we've heard people say for years.
I've heard that.
And so you're talking about Ocean Gate.
Right. The USOs,
Okay.
unidentified submersible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole other night unto itself, probably.
Well, the good thing is, you know, we've at least, you know, now we've moved on to the ocean. We got to worry about the skies. Wait a minute. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Just in breaking
Don't
today.
speak too soon.
Just today, ladies and gentlemen, you probably have not heard this on your news because I had not heard it until right before we went on the air. Biden's Department of Defense informs the United States Congress that they won't destroy a new spy balloon flying over, notice, Sandy, Montana airspace.
Exactly.
What was the last news item that we just said?
Hello.
Montana.
Exactly.
So you have a train that derails because a bridge blows up in Montana.
What is going on in Montana that they no longer want trains to be able to get to their destinations? And they don't want you looking into balloons that might be coming around.
Yeah, I see that comment. I just happened to look up that. Why spy on Montana? It's mostly farmland. Great point, but it's really not. I mean, I think most people realize that Montana is spread out with a bunch of open land, and there ain't no way there ain't something underneath all that land and in those mountains. I think Montana has a lot more going on inside it than we think.
Wealthy people have homes and
They do.
second homes in Montana.
Right.
And isn't the national park, it's not solely in the state of Montana, does it not?
It's in Wyoming and Montana.
Right.
Wyoming
It's
and
1 million or more acres
yeah.
of unusable.
Yeah.
And even though you can go to the park, I'm sure there's a lot of that area that's off limits.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's parts of that. The overwhelm, probably 85, 90% of all of Yellowstone, humans never get to go to.
Yeah.
So
Just like if you go to the Grand Canyon.
Exactly.
There's so much that you cannot go
Right.
into.
So how convenient. I mean, just say it, okay? How convenient to seize massive millions of acres of land, deem it a safety net for animals.
Yeah.
And
we're just going to call tonight Conspiracy Night. Everything's a conspiracy.
Everything. Could it be that they just were making it for the animals so that they could really use it for themselves?
I'm seeing a few comments pop up. If you know something, would you please put it out there and let the rest of us know?
So in a recent development, the
I'll
Biden...
get the popcorn.
Oh, yeah. The Biden regime's Department of Defense has stated it will not interfere with a potential spy balloon reported over American airspace. The DOD's response has sparked a backlash from Representative Matt Rosendale, Republican from Montana, who criticized the regime's lax approach towards foreign surveillance activities over the United States. He communicated his concern after constituents in Dawson County, Montana, reported tracking a balloon cruising at 57,000 feet. Let me tell you something. You do not want to mess with Montana people because they're the ones that found the last one. You remember that? They were the first ones that made it go to the news.
Yeah.
They saw these. So you got people in Montana spotting 57,000 feet above them balloons. This is the second time the Montanans has exposed this. Eastern Montana on Sunday evening. Sunday evening. Think about that.
Oh, my goodness.
The congressman contacted the DOD and was informed that while they were aware of the balloon, they would not investigate due to its size and the low probability of it conducting surveillance activities. Well, you know, then there's no way it's doing it. I'm so glad that it's not conducting surveillance activities. If I remember,
we conduct surveillance activities from space.
You can conduct they make cameras smaller than the middle of this cap on this bottle.
Yeah, nothing's going on. They can't do anything.
And if you'll remember, the last time all this was exposed in Montana, that's what they said. They said, oh, this is just a weather balloon that got off track. But when it was all said and done, they admitted that it was collecting surveillance. So to answer that question earlier, there's something that they're looking at in Montana.
All right, we got some people up in this chat. Somebody said a 30-06 will bring it down.
Yeah, I don't know if it's got that kind of range, but yeah. But look, yeah. I'm not saying it's UFOs. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. No. Look, here's the reality.
We're going full throttle tonight.
Okay. Let me just plant a seed here.
Full throttle conspiracy tonight.
Go with me for a minute.
Okay.
All right.
You're serious.
I'm serious.
Everyone.
Listen, y'all.
Shh.
Listen. Go with me for a minute.
Pay attention.
So you have a whistleblower that comes out. Seems like old news. Okay. It's literally just a couple weeks ago. That was in the news. Comes out.
David Grush
comes out and officially confirms that we have vehicles. We possibly have non-human pilots who bodies or whatever.
That's what he said. Whatever that means.
Okay. And that we've been reverse engineering it and that we have secret bases.
I want one.
You want? She's always wanted a spaceship, y'all.
Anyway, back to your story.
Okay. So they come out getting everybody in the world now talking about UFOs, even people that didn't believe that there was anything out there now are thinking about the possibility. Okay, but maybe we're working with them, or maybe most of the things that we're seeing is things that we've created in these secret bunkers, these secret things.
Underground.
You're
talking about dumbs now.
Dumbs, yeah. We're talking about the dumb people out there. No, we're talking about the dumbs. What's dumb stand for? I can't remember. Do you remember? Something underground.
Underground military base.
Okay. All right. Wait a minute. I'm not through my scenario. Here we go. Final thing. So could it be that Montana, and I need some Montanans to help me, is a hub for a lot of these places that this whistleblower is talking about, and China and the rest of the world knows that, and that's why they keep coming, because the last two routes before this route of the weather balloon, they all went across Wyoming and Montana.
I think someone said Malmstrom Air Force Base. Is that in Montana? Can you confirm?
Okay.
I don't know. We could go a lot of different directions. And yes, I do want that on my Christmas list. Thank you for saying that.
Okay. All right. All right. So I'll have to go back and see what that's about. All right. So look, it's just really strange, but not strange. Spy balloon, the reference to the spy balloon in February points to an earlier incident. And of course, as I said, they were exposed from people in Montana. Yes. From people in Montana. So let's move on from that.
Well, we're awake here, and maybe there's a pattern developing. So we're going to stay on top of this.
And we love you, Montana. If you're watching, anybody from Montana watching, there ain't a whole lot of you there. Because in the whole state of Montana, they're saying it's the whole state is smaller than a medium-sized city. Because there ain't a whole lot of people that live in Montana. But if you're watching from Montana, much love to you, because apparently you got something that China and Russia and aliens and everybody wants. All right, so we're gonna move.
I could say something right here, but we'll save that for another night.
Okay.
Another show.
You're gonna tell me later. All right. So we're moving on to part of all of this. While all this is going on, we're being moved and herded like cattle.
We are
into a one world system, one world economy,
shaping little minds.
I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff is distractions from this right here. You may think that this is not nowhere near as a big deal as talking about what we just talked about. But this right here is what shifts everything. This is how they control you. The Bank of International Settlements publishes its blueprint for CBDCs. We talk a lot about CBDCs here, praising programmable money.
Who's praising the programmable money?
This is the Bank of International Settlements. Okay.
Right.
They give a blueprint praising programmable money. Remember, we have told you about programmable money. That means your money becomes digital, and if you don't line up with the narrative, they can turn your money off.
Yeah.
In a press release earlier this week, the Bank for International Settlements announced that it was throwing its weight behind central digital currency, CBDCs, publishing a blueprint of a future monetary system underpinned by this type of money. And the BIS also heaped praise on the concept of programmable money. The announcement of the blueprint that's supposed to represent the foundation of the world's new financial and monetary system came just a day after reports that the BIS and the Bank of England had completed a CBDC
I would love
project.
to know exactly what their little project is.
Yeah, well, it's got a name. The project, dubbed Rosalind, is described as a joint experiment by the BIS Innovation Hub London Center and the Bank of England that produced 33
Wow.
API functionalities and looked into over 30 retail CBDC use cases. Those behind the, quote, experiment said they were satisfied that it proved an API layer that could work with different private sector applications and central bank ledger designs. And what's now needed is standardization of the API functionality to support in many use cases.
Oh, they love that word.
Yep.
They would love to get standardization across the board, every evil thing that they want to do to us. Yeah.
Absolutely. So basically, they're saying, we've got the blueprint. It's amazing.
You're going to love it.
You're going to love being able to let us program your money.
Exactly. And you.
Because,
your whole life.
Because think about it. Jesus said you're going to love God, you're going to love money, and the love of money is the root of all evil. So he understands the power of money. So I just want you to think about it. Just, you look at a $1 bill, you look at a $5 bill, you look at a $20 bill, and all our lives we have known what that is. We take a $5 bill. If somebody says it's $3.99, we look in there, take a $5 bill out, we give them $5, we get our change back. But just imagine that $5 bill leaves your wallet, and you still have it. You have that $5. It becomes digitized now. Now it's tied to your phone, your app, maybe your fingerprint, your eye, something like that. It's tied to it. It's still your money. They're going to tell you, we don't want your money. This is your money. You work for it. You still got the $5. Well, when you go up to the counter, where before they'd say it's $3.99, and you'd pull out that $5 bill and give them and get your change back, that's gone. Okay, it's $3.99. Well, you look in there and they scan your eye. Well, guess what? You just got on social media and you said you didn't believe in abortion, or you got on social media and you were not waving your pride flag or something like that. The government says, you know what? We're going to turn their money off. And all of a sudden the person says, well, I'm sorry to tell you, but it was declined. What do you mean it was declined? Well, you go back to your bank and you find out what's wrong, and they tell you that your ESG score, or whatever the scoring system that they said, did not give you rights to your money.
You didn't make the cut.
And they programmed and turned your money off. That is what CBDCs and programmable money is.
Wow. Well, I guess okay, let's do this story first.
Okay, all right. So let's just go just real quick. Just another thing, the International Monetary Fund is on board for the new global CBDC platform to replace the dollar, and other national currencies. If the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, that you hear a lot about, it's a major world organization, is successful in unleashing their new global central bank digital currency platform, as managing director Kristalina Georgieva says the group is currently, quote, working hard on, then soon the world's entire money supply will be controlled by a group of unelected bureaucrats. Right now, the various currencies of the world are, for the most part, already controlled by unelected private central bank cartels. A new IMF CBDC, however, would unify all of them into one cashless cryptocurrency that everyone would be forced to use in order to buy and sell. Sounds a little familiar,
right?
About the world being able to buy and sell.
We've been talking about these things for months.
Yep.
But still, it's hard to really process it. And to add to this, we know that FedNow becomes a reality in days. I don't know what date in July that it is, come on. They've got to have been running a beta form of this for a while, right?
Absolutely.
But it's announced that it's going live
in July.
Just
now,
days
for those
from
that don't know what FedNow is a Venmo Cash App type app that is being mandated by the FDIC in the United States of America, and I'm sure other countries are doing it as well. They are creating a centralized digital app where you can send money. They're not calling it CBDC. They're calling it FedNow, and they're going to start rolling out commercials in July on television, promoting the awesomeness of being able to.
But isn't it a little more far-reaching than just that application?
Oh yeah, first is Venmo. It's an application to start off with. FedNow is an app that you'll download on your phone, and it will be tied to your bank account. It will be tied to everything that you have there. And that when it rolls out, they're saying it will be optional and that it will be something that will be an added benefit to your bank. But think about this. Every bank that is secured by FDIC, which is all of them, is being mandated to place this and attach it to everybody's account.
So this is what I was getting at. Because I was under the belief that this FedNow system will be able to track every transaction of every person.
Absolutely they will. Absolutely they will. They're not going to put that in the promotion, but think about it. If your account, every dollar that you have that's in the bank, now if you still got cash, we still got cash, they don't know what you got. Mm-hmm. But what's in their bank, FedNow will they already know what you got, but now the federal government will have the right to track it. So when you pay the guy, the little boy down the road, down the neighborhood that cuts your grass, and you tap your phone to him or get his code and you send it to him, scan his QR code or whatever, and you send him $25, $30 or whatever, all of a sudden your bank not only sends him that money, but now your government knows and is tracking. You just paid this guy.
That's the word right there, tracking.
And so if you give to a church that is preaching against the narrative, if you give to a pro-life group, if you see where I'm going?
Yes.
That all of a sudden now you see, okay, this guy.
And you see the dangers of that.
Yeah.
Because when we had the trucker thing in Canada last year, all those who graciously gave and donated to help all of the truckers, what happened to them?
Yep. Oh, think about this now. Yeah. What you're talking about is this. Not only did the what is that Fund Me page? What the big one?
Go.
That's the one they went to, but I can't even think of the big one. They gathered all this money.
Give, Send, Go.
That's the one they ended up going to.
Okay,
but I can't think of the main one. But over $1 million they raised for these truckers. Why did they raise that money for the truckers? They raised that money for the truckers because the Canadian government seized their bank accounts. Would not allow them to have access to their money. GoFundMe. That's what it was. GoFundMe. So GoFundMe, people got on GoFundMe and raised money for them because they couldn't get access to their own money. Then they had to
go to Give, Send, Go.
But both of them were then frozen, and the Canadian government was threatened, and then GoFundMe said, we're going to take all this money and we're going to find a charity of our choice and give it to the charity of our choice.
The audacity. That's just crazy.
That's already been done.
Yes.
So what's going to happen, Sandy, when they have digital control of every dollar?
I know. This is why it's so bad. So why don't you touch briefly on your experience this morning when you went to get breakfast?
Yeah.
A lot of people already know this.
Yeah, you've already seen the video that I put out this morning. And let me just preface in saying, I'm not saying that McDonald's is not taking cash in all their locations.
They weren't this morning.
I went to the drive-thru in my little hometown here. It's not Birmingham. It's a little small town where I live. And I go through the drive-thru, which, by the way, nothing against McDonald's. If you work at McDonald's, I don't usually ever go to McDonald's anymore, but I do like that McGriddle thing. I know it ain't good for me. I know I've already been rebuked by so many of you telling me that I'm killing my body.
Thank you, everybody out there, for that
little
reminder.
McGriddle thing, that built-in pancake with syrup, and I know it ain't real syrup. I know all this, okay. But this morning I had a long day ahead of me. I was like, I got to have something. I'm going to skip lunch today, so I went through the drive-thru. So how many times you go through the drive-thru and you see a sign, sorry, our credit card machine is not working, accepting cash only? Well, we've seen that many times, but I never saw what I saw this morning. I pull up and there's no sign, but she says, good morning. Before you order, let me just say that we are only taking cards today. And I said, Oh, did you mean you're only taking cash? And she goes, no, we're not taking cash. And I promise you this is the way it went down. And I'm sitting there, and you can imagine, this is Monday, okay? So my mind is already racing for tonight and all the stuff that we have to do. I'm in the drive-thru on a Monday morning, and I said, ma'am, are you saying, I'm saying this through the speaker, did you just say you're not taking cash? She goes, no, we're not taking cash today. And I said, can I ask you why you're not taking cash? She goes, I have no idea. That was her words. I said, well, okay, I was going to use a card anyway, but that's just weird to me. So I pulled up to the first window. I said, hey, man, why are y'all not taking cash? He goes, we ain't got no change. And I was like, what? He goes, we ain't got nothing to make change out of, so we're not taking cash. And I'm like, how you not got cash? How you not got change? He goes, man, I don't know. It's just all they told me this moment I got here, we ain't got no change. So I get up to the second window, and they tell me, look, man, we have this is what they said. And the manager standing behind him. We have no idea. We were just told to tell people we're not taking cash today. Well, I found out later somebody told me they thought they might have had a problem with their safe. Somebody had to come out there and get a safe. But the bottom line is this. You now have major corporations thinking in their mind.
Right.
This was just a few years ago, they'd had to shut down. Because a lot of people were still using cash. They would have just said, look, we're just going to have to go down until we get this safe fixed or whatever. But in their mind, their default was, well, we don't need to close. Ain't nobody hardly even using cash anyway.
Exactly.
Because we're already programmed, ladies and gentlemen, for a cashless society.
Remember a year and a half ago when it was such a problem that we couldn't have change?
No change. Yep.
No change.
No change.
No coins.
Yeah, no coin.
No coins.
Yeah, which we knew that was ridiculous.
That was crazy.
That was just ridiculous. So now you got FedNow coming. You got the CBDC coming. You got all this coming. But ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. This is why you come to the big picture. All these other things, all these global things, balloons and submarines and narratives being told and parades and this and that and what's happening in the White House and all of this. While we're being consumed by all of that, they are taking your money. They are taking your property. They are taking your freedom.
Exactly.
That is why God put it on us in the middle of a wah-wah to go on YouTube. I mean, I'm a pawpaw. Oh, and by the way, I'm about to be another pawpaw. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I want all my big family to know, my big picture family to know that
it is a big family.
It is a big family. That if everything's going to
we love you all.
We love you all, but we want to let you know, if you didn't already know it, by this time tomorrow night, hopefully, we should have our second grandbaby. Yes. Is coming into the world tomorrow.
Yes, we are so excited.
Yes.
And we are asking you guys to please pray that everything goes smoothly.
Absolutely. So our sweet little Lainey Ruth will be coming to meet you. Many of you have seen Harper. And, of course, her mama, our daughter, will let us know when she's old enough for y'all to see her, and that may be several years from now before you get to see her. But
we hope not.
But she can't stop me from talking about her and bragging about her.
Yes.
So our sweet little Lainey will be here soon. So, all right, but back to the news. Back to the news.
Yes, the good news.
It just seems like every news thing has a global, an international, a united,
and urgent.
And it's all global entities doing this. And then, of course, this one is the United Nations. The United Nations has now openly encouraged social media users to police their friends and online people for hate speech.
What is this? Nazi Germany?
Well, yeah, it is.
Goodness.
The United Nations published a tweet to help people. This is the copy of the picture. To help people become more aware of the consequences associated with hate speech online. The organization linked their guide to, quote, how to deal with hate speech online, which includes reporting it to government authorities. Hate speech can take many different forms, according to the United Nations, but no matter what it looks like, hate speech has real consequences. Learn how to take action and say no to hate. Now, I want you to look at the megaphone, what's inside the megaphone. This is their picture. It's not just a comment. Now, look, I agree with this. I agree that words are powerful and that words can destroy people's lives. But you and I both know that the definition from the United Nations of hate speech is not the definition of hate speech for most people that are on this. And now we understand hate speech really means that you hate another race, even another gender. But just because you speak against a choice or you speak against a narrative that is trying to divide people, that is not hate speech. And if you preach the word of God, that is not hate speech.
But as our government and we allow the United Nations and the World Economic Forum more of a foothold into our country and into our lives, what they say, the standards, the guidelines, the regulations that they place get more and more respect, or more credence is given to what they say, because we're giving so much power and authority over to them.
The guide is broken down into 8 steps. This is going to help you. First, pause. Then fact check. Then react. Then challenge. Then support. Then report. Then educate. And then commit. What? This is what the United Nations says you're supposed to do when you sense something that makes you feel uncomfortable. Some of the sections give standard advice on how to verify information provided to you online. Have you ever
got to be kidding me? They need to come up with something easy like stop, drop, and roll. Nobody's gonna be what?
Just say no.
Yeah.
Most of it's just dumb. Because think of the attention span of the human being now. Anyway, I've got to wait a minute. Okay, let me think about this again.
And then what if you get confused? Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
No.
Is it time to fact check or is it time to pause?
I need to re-educate. No,
it's challenge. It's challenge.
Oh,
it's challenge.
He's all
Have you supported yet? Have you supported yet? Have you already reported? You can't report to you challenge.
Are you sure you paused? Oh gosh. What if you're intoxicated or inebriated in any way?
Wait, baby. Hold up. Don't post that yet. We got to pause.
Oh, my God.
We got to pause, baby. Take a deep breath. Pause. And then we're going to fact check. Have you ever went to a video and we're watching something that said just simply said, what is the New World Order? And I might get flagged by this. And you're just watching. You ain't even started the video. Fact check. Wikipedia says the New World Order is a conspiracy theory that tinfoil hat people wear. I added the tinfoil hat people. But it goes on to say, before we move on to the next news item, most of the guide's approach could be summarized as verifying sources of information, being respectful online, and not reacting quickly to information you come across that may be targeting people. It noticeably emphasizes that it's up to all individuals to bring attention to any content that could be construed as hate speech. Can I tell you something? Like I said, I don't have a problem with that. I agree with that. I agree that you need to be careful retweeting something. You need to be careful reacting. How many times have I sat down and fired off? I'm about ready to shred somebody. I'm so proud of myself. I have typed a diatribe, and I'm so proud. I'm like, Sandy, listen to what I'm about to say. Listen to what this person said, what I'm about to say. And my wife, I get 2 sentences in, and Sandy will be like, delete it. I'm like, it is so good. She's like, delete it. And then I'm like, you're right. So I agree with that, but what I don't agree with is what their definition of hate speech will be, because I've heard their definition of hate speech. Their definition of hate speech is this. Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and no man gets to the Father but by me. That's hate speech.
Come on.
No, it's not. It's the Bible. So could we get through a night without the World Economic Forum? Apparently not. Apparently not. The World Economic Forum has now announced plans. How you going to announce plans when you ain't even got no power? You ain't elected, but yet you do have power. See, does this not speak volumes of what they think of themselves? They are not a government. They do not, on the books, have a military, but I think we know differently. And they have not been elected, but they've announced plans for a global tax to fight climate change. And look who eats the bugs. Klaus is standing next to one of his sons from the young leaders of the World Economic Forum, Macron. The World Economic Forum has ordered world leaders to implement a new global taxation system designed to fight climate. The system was unveiled by WEF young global leader French President Emmanuel Macron, who, by the way, just applied last week. We broke it right here on the big picture that they have applied to join BRICS and leave the G7. French President Emmanuel Macron, who argued that global taxation is critical for climate change. Macron revealed the plans while speaking at the summit for the new global financing pact in Paris. Quote, I'm in favor of an international taxation to finance efforts that we have to fight poverty and in terms of climate action. It doesn't work when you do it alone. The financial flows go elsewhere. The WEF stooge made the calls while shutting down efforts to implement a new wealth tax to fund the green agenda. France already has in place two types of taxes that have been suggested, one on plane tickets and another on financial transactions. There's been a great deal of discussion on the idea of international taxation over and above what countries and institutions are doing, whether it's on financial transactions, maritime transport, or certain other models. It will only work if it's truly international, and so it presupposes an agreement, as we've been able to do on an international taxation. So what is this a part of? This is getting us to 2030.
Yep.
This is Agenda 2030.
Agenda 2030.
And when we get to the article that we're about to get to about the World Health Organization and what they're getting ready to have the power to do, you now have the World Economic Forum ordering nations. You have the president of France, who just, think about this, standing right next to the mouthpiece of the WEF.
Right.
On the same week that he says, I'm leaving the G7, I'm joining Russia and China in BRICS, I'm leaving the monetary dollar, and I'm going to be the voice of telling all the other nations that you need to tax tickets on planes, you need to tax personal transactions so that we can all come together to save the planet.
Yep. More of that Green Deal stuff.
It's a religion.
Yeah.
It's basically a religion. It's Jesus only said 10%.
Exactly.
I mean, their religion is more than 10% is what they're paying.
Oh, boy.
But, they've done away with, they're trying to do away with fossil fuels. They've tried to do away with gasoline-powered engines for cars. Now, New York City is saying you can't have a gas stove. So you can't. No new restaurants can cook with gas. I mean, think about it. That was a catchphrase: cooking with gas, because that's what they want to cook with. But then people say, "Well, okay, we'll go back to the Stone Ages. We'll do what we've always done. We'll make fire with wood." I made fire. Caveman, make fire. We'll just cook with wood. You ever had a fire-baked pizza? We just went to New York City the other day. We didn't, not too long ago, and we didn't get one of those famous New York City pizzas. We should have. We was on there for one day. But New York City now says, nope, you can't do that either. Coal and wood ovens, pizzerias, are mandated by New York City now to cut carbon emissions by 75%. Look at that right there. My God, I feel the Holy Ghost.
People
Look
are
at
already
that.
leaving New York in droves.
Yeah. And now they can't get a wood fire pizza. What? New York City has told pizzerias that use coal or wood burning ovens to slash their carbon emissions by 75% or face hefty fines. Spokesman for the New York City Department of Environmental Protection confirmed the new rules on Sunday. All New Yorkers deserve to breathe healthy air, and wood and coal-fired stoves, pizza stoves, are among the largest contributors of harmful pollutants in neighborhoods with poor air quality. This is a common sense rule, y'all. Developed with restaurant and environmental justice groups, requires a professional review of whether installing emissions controls is feasible. According to the New York Post, the new rule will likely require pizzerias with pre-2016 ovens to pay upwards of $20,000 to install air filtration systems, which will include continued maintenance costs. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, this world has lost its mind.
Right. How many people are just going to throw in the towel?
Yeah, why do you keep voting for these people?
I can't stay here. I can't stay in business with all these regulations.
But Sandy, the hits keep on coming. But then you start seeing some people are finally having enough. Look at this one. This one surprised me. Unable to rely on wind and solar, the nation of Sweden decides to ditch 100% renewable target and bets big on nuclear power. Wow. Look at that. It's surprising how many of these windmills are catching on fire. We've covered that on here as well. These turbines, they're just catching on fire and falling over. I mean, look, first of all, it's horrific to see when these things on fire, but they fall down.
Yes.
And they're huge. Okay.
They are huge.
The Swedish parliament determined last week that in order to ensure the country has a stable energy system, it will have to abandon its goal of 100% renewable electricity production by 2040 to satisfy electricity demand, which is set to double to around 300 terawatts, I guess, per hour. By 2040, Sweden's right-of-center government announced June 20th that it would instead lean heavily on nuclear energy and subsidize the construction of new nuclear plants. Construction of new nuclear plants. Well, they ain't going to like to hear that. Plants greenlit in 2060, but sidelined for fear that they would be too expensive. So I don't know what that's about. I'm going on down. A 70-year-old grandmother designed something. Okay. I don't know how that got in there. But thank you, Blaze Media. But while Sweden's heightened nuclear focus is consistent with the country's commitment to shifting energy entirely off fossil fuels in a way that doesn't altogether cripple the nation, the bullishness on the carbon-free nuclear power represents a significant about-face of atomic energy. Because, we've been talking about that for ever since we came on the air here with the Big Picture Live, that, nuclear energy is a clean energy. But that was one of the original woke things that people protested, protesting nuclear war and all this kind of stuff. So that's sort of a no-no. But people are waking up and realizing, hey, you're putting everybody in an electric car. You're going to make electric buses, electric fire engines, electric trains, and even electric airplanes. That's what they're talking about. How stupid. So where are you going to get this electricity?
Right.
So they said, we ain't getting it from wind and we ain't getting it from solar, so we need to get it from nuclear. What do you think about that?
That's surprising to me.
Yeah,
I would not have expected to see, any country really come out and say, no, we're doing this because we've counted the cost and we realize we're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. And this Sweden is a very liberal country and very, in the woke system, And
there's probably plenty of wealthy people there, and they're going to be really angry when they realize they can't charge their electric vehicle.
Now, here's another. Somebody says, "Where does the nuclear waste go?" That's a good question. As long as it doesn't melt down, it just stays right there, I think. But and maybe it all has to still be buried somewhere. I don't know. But the bottom line is this: you ain't gonna get it. You ain't gonna put everybody on electric and get that from the wind and the sun. But now this one you ain't hearing nowhere but the big picture.
I'm glad somebody's talking about this.
Yeah. Well, the somebody's us and the Epoch Times. Millions. This broke today. This was admitted by several experts. Millions of people have not regained their sense of smell and taste after wah-wah. They have validated these approaches. Watch this. Of the 36 million Americans who contracted wah-wah in 2021, and of course, there's many more beyond 21, an estimated 800,000 and 540,000 did not regain their sense of smell and taste, respectively, meaning 800,000 never got their smell back. 540,000 never got their taste back. Thank you for that super chat, Dawn. Oh, yes. Our neighbor, Dawn.
Thank you, Dawn.
By the way, Dawn, we just baptized Dawn. She's our neighbor in our neighborhood.
Yes.
We baptized her and her husband in the water there where we live, and it was an awesome, awesome thing this week. We love our neighbor. After recovering from in the infection, the study's data further suggests that 5.2 million and 4.2 million people experienced only a partial recovery of their taste and smell. Losing your sense of smell or taste isn't as benign as you think. It can lead to decreased eating for pleasure, and in more extreme cases, it can lead to depression and weight loss. We both experienced this.
Yes, we did.
When we contracted the wah-wah,
Yes.
Nobody in our family really got real bad sick. But at the same time,
I'm sorry that you breezed right through it, but I was on the couch for over a week, couldn't do anything.
That's true. You did.
But I didn't realize.
I'm talking about deathly sick, like hospital deathly sick.
Yes, that. So remember when, was I the first one to come down sick? Maybe. I don't know. But I'm in the kitchen.
I remember when we all found out we got it.
I'm in the kitchen. I'm
How
making
we found out.
vegetable soup. And I didn't realize that I couldn't taste anything, and I just kept adding ingredients. This is so bland. This has no flavor.
She like emptied a half a bottle of chili powder or something.
I don't know how much I put of what, but our son-in-law comes in and he gets a little taste, and he's like, "Oh, whoa!" And then I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, he hadn't got it yet. He's like, "Good God Almighty!"
He's like,
"Woo, my mouth is on fire," and Sandy's like,
and that's when I realized I can't taste anything.
And look, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, listen, we're transparent on the big picture. I always get in trouble for saying too much when the show goes off. But I'm going to tell you how we all figured out that we had it. We were all sitting in the living room, all sitting there talking, watching TV or something. And our grandbaby was at that time, in diapers and all this. And she's just, she's running around playing. And we notice a sagging diaper. And we all just looked at each other, and we're like, wait a minute. I mean, we were sick, but we were not real bad sick. And he pulled the diaper back, and we was like, I'm going to be graphic with y'all. Everybody was just like, I don't smell nothing.
None of us could smell.
None of us could smell it. She was like, poo, 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 poo. And we're just like, oh, my God, we got the wah. And
this went on for me.
Went on. Yeah.
This lasted for several weeks.
We had weird manifestations. You smelled cigarettes for
Absolutely.
so long. Like somebody was in the room smoking.
Yes.
And I had interesting, weird smells where I forgot what mine was, but it wasn't cigarettes. But I did smell cigarettes too. And it's just so weird how it just manifested. But then my heart breaks for this because I remember how horrible it was to not be able to taste anything, to be able to smell anything. And it was just unreal. And now you're talking about almost 1 million people never regained their smell, and half a million people never regained their taste, and 5.5 and 4.5 million only got it back partial.
I know how frustrating it was for us. I cannot imagine this going on and on and on.
No. Yeah. This live chat is
you.
on fire tonight. This live chat is on fire. Are y'all having fun tonight?
We're talking about important things.
Yeah, guess right. Hey, but look, don't forget, cow poots, cow. Can I say cow farts? Can I say that? Is it?
I think you just did.
I think I just did. But they're the biggest reason.
Yeah.
For the climate issue.
It's so dangerous.
The biggest reason.
It's so dangerous.
So look, okay. Now let's move on. So we got 30 more minutes to hit that 2-hour mark, and we are just getting started. Actually, we got a few more big ones, but I want to tell you this one right here. This one right here is unreal. Bill Gates, our friend Bill Gates, the guy that only cares about computers. He's now telling the world leaders it's time for death panels to reduce global population. He is now saying the quiet thing out loud.
Yeah.
Globalist billionaire and depopulation enthusiast Bill Gates has told world leaders that it's time to use death panels to sentence ordinary law-abiding people to, I'm going to say wah, for the crime of not being any use to the elite. Listen to this. I'm going to only play the first clip of this.
So he came just shy of calling us useless eaters.
Yeah, but he does say death panels. Listen to this. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Why is it not working? All right, let's see. Why is it not working? System audio. Hang on one second. I don't know what happened here. Live.
We're going to troubleshoot
see.
This live.
All the time. Why is it not working? It should be working. If it's not working, I don't know why it's not working. Okay, it's not working.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. There it is. Nope, that's not it. It's not working. Trust me. All right, so I don't know why it's not working. Is that why it wasn't working? There it is.
Bill Gates has become so arrogant in recent times that he is happy for the cameras to catch him saying the quiet parts out loud.
Is spending $1 million on that last 3 months of life for that patient would it be better not to lay off those 10 teachers and to make that trade-off in medical costs? But that's called the death panel, and you're not supposed to have that discussion. So you, of course,
Well,
we're
that's
making...
an interesting.
Do you know when he says you're not supposed to have that discussion, that means I'm supposed to still be quiet about this, but I just said it.
I think what he means is I want to go ahead and start that discussion.
Yep. He basically, this is the equivalent that he says, you can either help this person who potentially has a year to live, or you can pay teachers. If you help that person that has a potential of year to live, you're going to have to lay off teachers. That's
Have you watched
the narrative.
this entire video yet?
I've only watched the clip that I'm going to show because I don't want to play the commentary of the other guy.
Okay.
So I have watched this clip.
Thing you just said, which is just the last 3 months in life for one person or something, because we haven't had a discussion of how to allocate that money, it means we lay off 3 teachers to do so. I mean, in other words, we
That's
haven't
right.
had this type
Society's
of allocation.
We're making
discussion.
that trade-off because of
We're
huge
making that
medical
trade-off.
costs that are not examined to see which ones actually have no benefit whatsoever.
Wait.
Did you hear what he just said? We have to examine which one really doesn't have any benefit whatsoever, and we're going to have to make. And he says right now, we are currently making that trade-off, that we are laying off teachers because we are keeping loved ones alive. That's exactly what he just said. I'm going to back it up so you can hear it.
Yeah.
That he says
and
that.
because of course
Well,
we're
that's
making...
an interesting thing you just said, which is just the last 3 months in life for one person or something, because we haven't had a discussion of how to allocate that money, it means we lay off 3 teachers to do so. I mean, in other words, we
That's
haven't
right.
had this type
Society's
of allocation.
We're making
discussion.
that trade-off because of huge medical costs that are not examined to see which ones actually have no benefit whatsoever.
Wait,
and because of pension generosity, we will be laying off over 100,000 teachers, which, I'm very much against that. And the whole AFT will agree with me on that.
Terrifying stuff.
So I'm very much against that. Very much against laying off 100,000 teachers. Well, we all are. But what he's not very much against is saving your loved one.
Right.
That has, the guy said, 2 to 3 years of life left. And he said society is already making that judgment. We're already laying off 3 teachers for every person we're trying to keep alive, which I'm going to say right now that's not true. But it's a narrative that's being sold to us that, hey.
Well, we talked
Susan,
about the encouragement of euthanasia in Canada.
Especially in Canada. It's one of the leading causes of death
right.
now.
Did we not read, or maybe we even talked about a little while ago, that at least 13,000 people decided on euthanasia
Absolutely.
last year?
Absolutely.
Last year in one country. At least 13,000 people.
One of the leading causes of death in Canada was doctor-assisted wham-wham.
Because people are being advised that, this is an option for you. Hey, maybe this is the better option for you.
One particular gentleman was, one of the cases was, his reason was he didn't have a girlfriend, and he couldn't find a girlfriend. So he just told them, I want to go. And they did it. They did it for him.
Very
They did it for him.
disturbing. Very
with
disturbing.
taxpayer dollars in Canada. Yeah. They did it. That's the mentality of life now. That's what life means to people now. And let's not forget that the leading organization in the world that was the mouthpiece that created this system of control that we were with for 3 years, when this whole nation, this whole world was under the grip, was the World Health Organization, the WHO. They are almost untouchable. This will get me flagged right here if nothing else has. So we have talked, Sandy, about this pandemic treaty. We have talked about it. We have talked about that it is in the process of being ratified. So an ex-World Health Organization official has now come forward, almost like a whistleblower, and has raised alarms over this global pandemic treaty. A former senior official of the WHO has spoken out to raise the alarm over the unelected United Nations Health Body's global pandemic treaty. Notice the pattern. All these unelected global entities have so much power.
Yes.
The WHO's proposed pandemic treaty and the amendments to the international health regulations give the globalist organization sweeping new powers that override the laws of sovereign nations. We have covered this in detail here. This is not conspiracy. This is actually fact. Democrat President Joe Biden's administration has confirmed that it is committed to surrendering America's pandemic authority to the WHO in a legally binding accord. In a press release, the Biden administration publicly affirmed the United States federal government's commitment to the agreement. The accord will give the Chinese Communist Party linked. Of course, they're very linked to that. We saw what happened when the WAN came out and people started saying about the origins of it. WHO shut that down. Ultimate control over U.S. pandemic policies, such as, listen to the control that the World Health Organization in Switzerland, in Geneva, Switzerland, U.S. pandemic policies over U.S. pandemic policies such as lockdown, censorship, masking, WAN mandates, and public surveillance. Not to mention eminent domain is in there as well to take over facilities. The treaty will award the WHO with sweeping global powers if passed and will give the United Nations agency the authority to declare and manage all pandemic emergency policies of once sovereign nations that is previously reported. Once a health emergency is declared by the WHO, every signatory nation, including the United States, and of course the UK and all European countries have included, must submit to the authority of the WHO.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is about to be ratified. The article goes on to say that, and I want to show you this so that you will just not think this is my opinion. Even more chilling. Look at this. The White House wants to bypass submitting this agreement for Senate approval. The Biden administration argues that it is not an official treaty, despite it having full force of one. So they're saying this is not an official treaty, although we are giving official mandating powers. Since it's not an official treaty, we don't have to go to Congress, and they're just going to executive order it and turn our nation.
Dangerous.
Unbelievable. And this is what we're talking about you're being distracted from. These are the kind of things that, you know that a submarine implodes on Sunday. And you know it, and everybody in the media is complicit, and they go along till Thursday.
Well, you know what this is. Never let a crisis go to waste.
Exactly.
We're going to make good use out of this.
Yeah, exactly. So while we're worrying about, how much oxygen do they have? This horrible thing that's breaking our hearts, the powerful people are implementing Agenda 2030. Yes. You need to go back and watch my video. Go back and search for Agenda 2030 and watch that detailed explanation of what is Agenda 2030. It's the world we live in, Sandy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Now, this is one we don't like talking about, but we have to talk about it. And that is, this is called Pride Month. This is the end of Pride Month. This is the last week of Pride Month. This administration is so full of, they pride themselves, no pun intended, on being the most LGBTQ filled cabinet in history. And this is one of them. This is the Assistant Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, Admiral Rachel Levine. So we give the founding of our nation one day. We give our veterans one day. We remember those that have died in military service for Memorial Day one day. We give fathers one day. We give mothers one day. We give the resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ one day. We give the virgin birth one day. But we give a choice of sexual preference a month. And we call it something that God says is one of the 7 deadly sins. It was the original sin of the garden, pride. Well, that's not enough. It's not enough. It's never enough for the devil. So this is what Admiral Rachel Levine, I don't know what his actual real name is. That by the way, you know what? I found out that will get you banned from this platform, the YT platform, if you misgender somebody.
Oh my.
They're starting to deplatform people.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's starting to be implemented. And that's
Okay.
why we need you to load up on Rumble. Admiral Rachel Levine, the Assistant Secretary for Health and for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, has declared, as Pride Month comes to an end, that it should be the summer of Pride. So let's just listen to Admiral.
Hello, my name is Admiral Rachel Levine, and I have the honor of being the Assistant Secretary for Health at the United States Department of Health and Human Services. Happy Pride. Happy Pride Month, and actually, let's declare it a summer of pride. Happy Summer of Pride.
Okay. So it's now the summer of Pride. Happy Pride Month. Happy Summer of Pride. But that's not enough. What about our president? And I don't know if I've got it. Oh, wow. I don't know if I got it. I saw him when he spoke at the Pride Festival that was at the White House. He said, Happy Pride Day, Happy Pride Month, Happy Pride Year, Happy Pride Life. Every day from now on is Pride. We are a nation of perpetual pride. So you're being quiet over there, Sandy. You got anything to say over there?
Well, I guess some people are wanting to take this to the next level.
Good comment there. Good comment. Trying to be careful.
I'm trying to be careful. This is the first video and first article that I've seen about this, but I wouldn't be surprised if it gets some traction.
I'm sorry, y'all, to put this in front of you, but this is what we're talking about. This is not a Saturday Night Live skit. These men are so proud of themselves. LGBT activists at the annual Drag March on Friday in New York City shouting a troubling message regarding children across the nation. As Pride Month comes to a close, the participants marched through Tompkins Square Park in East Village chanting, according to the New York Post. And I'm going to have to be really careful about this picture, so I'm going to go slow. Video footage shows the flamboyantly dressed crowd moving through the area, and a woman among the group appears to be topless. And I'm not going to play this video because on this video it would get me in trouble because I tried to blur it and I couldn't blur it. But in that crowd, and you can see the one, it's actually a woman, but looks dressed like a man in a tie. Right next to that woman in a tie is a woman who is topless. And they are chanting, "We're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children." You can find the video on your own. It's everywhere. I'm not going to play it now. But trust me, right now, if I press play, you would hear that entire crowd saying, "We're here, we're queer, and we're coming for your children." New York City Drag March here shows a man, which I'm not going to show because I would get banned, in nothing but a pair of whitey-tighty underwear. That's all he has on, period. Twerking towards an entire sidewalk of elementary children in their face. This is what is happening around this world on pride marches. So it ain't about a man wanting to marry a man. It ain't about a woman wanting to marry a woman. They are not satisfied there. They understand they are coming for your children. And if this makes you uncomfortable to see this, it makes us uncomfortable to see it. We don't want to show it. In fact, we had a discussion about whether we was going to cover this. And what did I say to you, Sandy, why we have to do it?
It's important. We have to get this message out,
Because if we don't,
right? Most people will not know that this is even going on.
or they will only know the side of love wins. Love always wins.
Right.
Well, let me just tell you, that's a narrative. That's a narrative, okay? That you need to understand on this show, we're going to do our best to be loving, caring, not hate-filled, but unafraid to call out what is actually happening. Now, Sandy, one more thing I want to show them. And if you're still with me, hit that like button, because we're going to get in trouble probably with the upper people. So I need as much help as I can. Now listen to this. I encourage you to go find the video by Jonathan Cahn where he's talking about his last book, The Return of the Gods, about the one particular god, Ishtar, who is the god of, had all kinds of sexual perversion. This was taken from this book, and it is powerful, and it is all documented. It is no accident that Pride Month is in June. The goddess Ishtar's entrance and inauguration of her resurrected movement at Stonewall. We all know what Stonewall is. If you don't know what Stonewall is, that's the big thing that started this. Took place at the exact time, was a riot, took place at the exact time ordained by the Mesopotamian calendar and the ancient mystery. The observations, celebrations, and pride parades were held around the end of June during the reign of the goddess Ishtar, which was typically within a week or days of the summer solstice, the time of pagan celebrations. Aside from the Stonewall opening an ancient door, there are 3 landmark cases in the United States Supreme Court which opened other doors. First, the legalization of homosexuality, that happened in the summer in the month of June. This was the legalization of it in the month of June. The second door that opened from Ishtar was the overturning of the Defense of Marriage that took place on June 26th, which is 20 years ago today. The third door overturning of marriage, which legalized same-sex marriage across America, took place towards the end of June as well. I believe it was June 24th. On that night that marriage was struck down, the sign of the goddess, which was the rainbow, 6 colors, not 7, like God's, lit up the Empire State Building, the waters of Niagara Falls, and the house which governs America, the White House. The power of the metamorphosis belonged to Ishtar, where she could transform a man into a woman. This is the legend, and a woman into a man. She changed our nation's priorities, values, and desires. With that culture once was rejected, it would now accept it, and what it once accepts, when it once accepts it, it would now reject. So what I'm trying to tell you is that this all happened in the month of June during the reign of Ishtar.
Right.
And that is why, specifically, this is the month of pride. Your thoughts, Sandy? Come on.
It's very deep.
It's very deep.
Thanks to Jonathan Cahn for bringing that to us, because I hadn't heard it anywhere else before he
Absolutely
brought that out into the light.
Yes.
And this is ancient.
Yes.
This
It's
goes
ancient.
back so far. And these organizations, to some degree, at least the higher ups must know that. And so that's why they do this repeated in the month of June.
Absolutely. It is in the month of June. It was in the month of June then. It's in the month of June now. Yeah. Every major thing that is dealing with what pride is about has happened in the month of June. And that is why they take a whole month, because it's a month of ancient celebrations, whether people realize it or not. Let's move on, but I wanted you to know about it as we close out this month. Swedish firm Fingerprints is the name of the firm, boasts becoming first biometric company to join the World Economic Forum's new Champions community. Together with the rest of the community, they will ignite a powerful wave of change, collaborating and inspiring others to create meaningful impact within their industry and beyond. They're all excited about it. We move quickly to the next one. Japan is debuting a first-of-its-kind contactless facial recognition at 20,000 ATM services at 7-Elevens. We want our ATMs to be used not just for deposits and withdrawals, but as a terminal for a wide variety of services. 7-Bank in Japan revealed that they plan to install roughly 20,000 ATMs that allow customers to deposit and withdraw money with facial recognition instead of having to provide a tangible ID or card. We saw this week that China is now instituted palm purchases, and I saw a video of a Chinese lady there in Japan just showing you, it's Chinese showing how awesome it is in China. She's buying a bag of chips with her hand, is scanning her hand or palm. It's here. It's definitely here. And of course, this is not maybe the paranormal, but it is the weird. So we transition for the last few minutes into...
There he is.
There he is. Uncle Jimmy.
Back.
Jimmy. Uncle Jimmy. That picture of us. That picture of us. Oh my God. We're just like paranormal update. But this is the last couple of things we're going to hit tonight. This one's not paranormal, but this one's freaky, y'all. Yeah. This, we've seen the little robot dogs, okay? We've seen them. The robot dogs are, they're almost a little bit cute. In fact, I'll just show you just a little clip of this. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but this was last Christmas from Boston Dynamics, showing how sweet these cute. He's looking. He's like, I need to put this bow on the Christmas tree.
How do I get this bow?
I need to call my friends in. And
need a little help here.
So 2 of them come in. They position themselves. Now watch this.
Wow.
So they're doing this, I don't know if they're doing this on their own, autonomously or what, but watch this. They create steps for their friend, the
help
robot.
Help a brother out.
Help a brother out. Watch this. These are robots. Watch this. Oh my Lord. This is freaky.
Okay.
Watch this. Watch this. This was last Christmas.
I don't know if you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking.
Exactly.
But are you thinking, do they wrap gifts as well?
Yeah, they got a gift, but it's not being wrapped. Okay, so that's Boston Dynamics. And then this is a Chinese defense contractor demonstrating drones deploying armed robo-dogs. This is actually real right now. This is not a movie. They're going to bring these robot dogs in.
They drop them where they need them.
Drop them where they need them.
Wow. I have not seen this.
Yeah, this is wild.
This is from October last year.
Exactly. So what are they doing now? Unreal. What? And the Mission Impossible music behind it you just expect Tom Cruise to jump out, blow it up or something. Deployed. Mission is deployed. Robot is ready. Fully armed and ready to invade. So they don't even know what's happening. People inside the building, they got an armed military robot on the roof.
That is super
Unreal.
Scary. Super scary.
But now this one right here is what takes the cake. This one was just released from Boston Dynamics. They literally call it the Terminator flamethrower robot dog. All right, wait a minute. There we go. He looks so cute. Look at him laying there just like AJ, our dog. Just laying there waiting for you to come pet him.
Yeah, AJ doesn't come with destructive weapons on board.
Yeah, exactly. Look, so you can send him into the battle. Nobody has to get killed. Just send Fido in. Fido did have guns. He still has guns. But if you really want to bring destruction, Fido he has a built-in flamethrower. Up to 30 feet away. Robot dog.
And what is the application for this?
Just to help you burn trash in your backyard. To help a brother out, just yeah. What do you think the application for this is? They're coming for us, y'all. They're coming for us, and we keep building these things. We keep building them. What is wrong with the human race?
Thank you for that super chat, Miss Audrey.
Oh, thank you. But now here's something that we got 2 quick things left when we be done. But these are very, very important. So stay with us till the end. We talk about BlackRock and we talk about what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock. Look at this. This is amazing because he's the creator of the ESG score system. And BlackRock CEO admits that DeSantis hurt the presidential candidate, Governor DeSantis, hurt the firm after the state of Florida, by executive order, divested billions over woke policies in Florida. Listen to what he says. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink admitted Sunday that Governor Ron DeSantis damaged his firm last year by pulling $2 billion in assets from BlackRock's management. This is shocking, y'all. This is a turn of events. I'm ashamed of being a part of this conversation, he said to the Aspen Ideas Summit. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, has become a prominent target of the anti-woke movement. That's because BlackRock is committed to environmental, social, and governance policies. The firm believes weighing a company's policies on the environment and social issues is part of its fiduciary duty. But numerous states disagree and have divested from BlackRock. And I think Alabama is one of them too. But last December, Florida divested $2 billion in assets. And the admission is specifically ironic because at the time, BlackRock claimed Florida's divestment would backfire on DeSantis. He goes on to say, he says, I never said I was ashamed. I'm not ashamed. I do believe in conscientious capitalism. I'm not going to use the word ESG because it has been misused by the far left and the far right. So Larry Fink, the creator of ESG score systems, and has pushed it with managing trillions of dollars of assets around the world. There's been at least enough pushback by non-woke people that he is now saying, I'm not going to use the word ESG anymore. That's a big deal.
It is. And when they're feeling it in the pocket, that's going to get their attention. Thank you for that super sticker, Katie.
Man, I'll tell you what, the Bartley family is a blessing. We love y'all and we appreciate you. The last thing I want to show, Sandy, I want us to really both involve in this. This is a great article that I feel like sums up where we're at in the church, in the body of Christ, and in the nation. Because these are the things that we need to look for. The title of this article is, you can find this on Prophecy News Network. 8 signs the control agenda of the globalists is rapidly moving forward.
As if you needed another one.
Exactly. And it's just as rehashing some things that we've talked about here. It says, number 1, starting in September, the EU will mandate that all member states offer a digital identity wallet to all their citizens and businesses. These are some things you need to know that is coming. It's June. It's about to be July. Just in a few days it'll be July. Starting in September, the EU is mandating that all member states of the EU have a digital identity wallet issued to every citizen in every business.
So this is the introduction. They're offering it to you now before they require you to use it at some later date.
Yes. It says at least 80% of citizens should be able to use a digital ID solution to access key public services by 2030.
Of course.
Number 2 thing that's coming. We talked about this last week. A system of digital fingerprints for Americans has suddenly become Barack Obama's biggest issue. He's talking about this everywhere he goes. Former President Barack Obama suggested in a new interview that a development of digital fingerprints to combat misinformation and to distinguish between true and misleading news for consumers is needed. That's already being talked about. We talked about it last week and quoted him. Number 3, a United Nations policy brief that you can find right here on this article is proposing a global system that we just talked about of digital identification that is linked to your bank accounts. We just covered that tonight. Number 4 that we also covered tonight, The World Health Organization has adopted the European Union system of digital WANT certification and plans to transform it into their global system. We talked about that about a month ago, that they are planning on taking the EU's thing that they did and implementing it globally. Number 5, federal agencies in the United States have been purchasing a massive amount of information. This broke not long ago, that they have plausible deniability saying we are not tracking your information, but you know what the government is doing? It came out, they are buying your information from Facebook, from Instagram, from all these others. The United States has been purchasing a massive amount of information about U.S. citizens from data brokers, and we are being warned that such information could potentially be used for blackmail, stalking, harassment, and public shaming. And then quickly, number 7, the United Nations developed a global fact-checking system known as iVerify in conjunction with big tech companies and Soros-funded organizations. A goal is to be able to police disinformation and hate speech all over the planet. We already talked about that. And then lastly, I believe there's a number 8, or was that just 7 of them? I guess that was just 7 of them. So,
Wait a minute.
Nope, there it is. Number 8. The IMF is publicly admitting that it is constructing International Monetary Fund, we covered this tonight, a global CBDC platform that all the national central bank digital currencies will soon be rolled out. All of these things are happening, Sandy, right now
simultaneously.
and in this year.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And what does it say? What does it spell out? Total control, or at least an attempt for total control.
Attempt for total control. So the last thing tonight, Sandy, is if people would like to help us, we need their help.
Yes, we do.
We are launching a big picture television program. It's just mind-boggling to even say this. This is the biggest step of faith that we've taken on personally. Our church has taken on big steps of faith. But for us personally, and for this ministry and for this audience, we want our big picture family to be a part of it. Anything you can do can help us. Several of you have already blessed us. You can go to LarryRagland.com or LarryRagland.tv, and you can click to give online to help. I'm going to be transparent with you. I'm not a big guy asking for money. I'm not comfortable asking for money, but we need some people to give $1,000. I mean, we need some people that can. Some of you are like, $1,000? I'll give $10. Thank you.
Yes.
$10 would be incredible.
We'll take it.
$5 would be incredible. But some people could give $1,000. It's going to take $23,300. Listen to me, y'all. I'm just giving you the actual amount. I'm not rounding it up to $23,300, and that's even at a discount rate to produce 3 months worth of programs and be on at least 2, possibly 3 television stations to reach 30 to 50 million people. $13,000 for the airtime, $10,000 for the production. This is a major, major step. This is going to build the viewership of this show, and this show is going to build the viewership of the TV show. So for those that have asked that would like to send a check, you can send a check to Larry Ragland Ministries, P.O. Box 9489, Birmingham, Alabama 35220. So I'm going to leave this on the screen while I'm talking about this. Sandy, share your heart right now about, it's crazy to think that we're about to fly in July. We're flying up to Indianapolis by faith, and we're going to record 3 months worth of programs that are going to be seen by millions of people.
It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be very exciting to go ahead and get all these shows recorded, and they're ready for the production and the editing process. We feel like we can almost get to that first part of this goal, but we do need the rest of the money to complete the whole process for the production and the editing to get it onto the air. So anything you can do, anything you can give, will go towards that, and we will be so grateful. Of course, we need your prayers as well.
Yes.
That God will continue to work in this process and see it to completion.
Absolutely. And let me make myself very clear. I know Sandy feels the same way, and I know most of all of you feel the same way. You've never heard us talking about money on here. Every once in a while we'll say thank you for those that click the join button. That's about all you ever hear. We're not going to turn this show into a show that talks about money all the time. We're not going to spend 15, 20 minutes talking about money and all this kind of stuff. But we're also not going to be afraid to share the need with you.
Yes.
Because I know that many of you believe in what we're doing and want to see millions of people be impacted by this. This will be a Bible teaching program There'll be a preaching program. About a third of the shows will be preaching for my church. A third of the shows will be, maybe a little over the third of the shows will be me doing teaching on deep subjects. And then another third of the shows, maybe a little bit less than a third of the shows, will be Sandy and I together. Will not be necessarily a news program, but we will cover cultural issues, and we will, but it will be a kingdom principle show. It's going to be called The Big Picture, but it's going to be the big picture spiritually. And we believe that millions of people are going to get saved. Thousands of people are going to get saved. Millions of people are going to be touched. And that's our heart. But we have said, if God's in it, we believe he is, he's going to do it. And the way he does it through people. And if you can give, whatever you can give, we appreciate it. If you can't give, I promise you we understand. That doesn't make you any less as important to us. Our Big Picture family, if you watch this show from now to the rapture and you never give a dime, I promise you are just as important to us. Yes. We are not going to harp on money to you because that's not why we're doing what we're doing. And that's not why we're ever going to do what we're doing. But we will share the need with you, and we're at the beginning stages of it. We don't have the money, so that's why we're talking about it. If we had the money, it wouldn't spend as much time, but we don't have it.
Right.
But we're believing God that we are going to have it. So closing thoughts on the night, Sandy, we are over 2 hours again with our Big Picture family.
9:01. Look at that.
Yep.
Well, this was a lot.
It was.
And I thought we were going to go just full conspiracy all night long. I think we stepped away from there for a little bit, but even that was intense and very serious.
Yeah. Yep.
So
we love you. Thank you for all of the world is becoming bibliophobic. That's a good word, Delane. You heard it here first. Delane has put a word up there. Instead of something phobic, it's bibliophobic. And I hope I said that right, Delane. So thank you for everybody joining us tonight. Listen, let's blow up this channel. Let's share. Hit the like button and share it. Send it in a text. Create a group text. Send it to your family. Send it to your coworkers.
Yes.
Post it on your Facebook. Post it on Twitter. Send it in an email. Let's build this thing. Monday nights is a place where you can come and hear things you're not going to hear anywhere else.
Thank you for hanging in there with us.
So, Sandy, we're about to go home, and then tomorrow we're getting a brand new grandbaby.
Getting a brand new little girl.
So, it's going to be totally up to the mom and daddy, but as soon as the mom and daddy lets us, we'll post a picture on our Facebook. If you don't follow us on Facebook, go to Facebook. Go to LarryRagland.tv, and all those connections are there. Facebook, Instagram, all that. And you can see the picture of our grandbaby one day this week. Don't know when it'll be, but I'll sneak one in by the end of the week. I think I can.
I think you probably will.
I think I can. All right. We love you all. We always want to remind you as we get ready to go home and get a new grandbaby that we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake. Have a good night.
Good night.
See you next time.
Love you all.